Listening, which is one of the most important component of any communication, has to be understood in the right perspective. Because even if you see from the human construct point of view, we have got 4 organs through which we are able to listen. 2 eyes and 2 ears. And we have only 1 organ to speak out. So as a consequence, we need to remember that the ratio is 4:1. That means 80% of the time you need to listen and 20% time you speak. And as we said, listening is a learnable skill, and any human being with conscious effort can learn and master this very important business skill, I would also say personal skill and a life skill. So let's go into the depth of it by understanding the steps to active listening. Now, if you see the word listen and we make it as an acronym and try to understand it and remember it so that it can be easy for you to master it. The word L, the letter L stands for listen. I for inquire. S for summarizing. T for takeaway. E is for the encouraging the speaker, and N for never negate. So this is the acronym listen and its elaboration. Now let's go deep dive into each one of them. When we talk about L, it is about look into the speaker. What it means is when you are in front of one people or a number of people or the audience, always ensure that you have an eye contact with the speaker and also to the person with whom you are communicating. Because looking at the other person displays respect for the other person. And you need to concentrate and ensure that your attention, your focus is totally with the other person, so the other person feels that you are there in body, mind and soul. Be aware of your posture also. Don't be in a very casual position. Show as if you are really listening by moving your body forward. Even you can shake your head, nod your head, and thereby ensure that the other person has a feeling and the tendency that you are really being with him and trying to catch up each word in its proper essence, not only from the words perspective but also trying to understand the feeling, emotion and the intent behind the speaker. Next aspect is I, which is inquire. Inquire means whenever you have any doubt or you're not very clear, inquire about it. Remember, when the speaker is speaking, he is interested that you are understanding what he's saying, because ultimately the crux of any communication is to understand each other, appreciate each other, empathize with each other and thereby take it forward. So in inquiring, you can use probing, you can use questioning techniques, you can use small short statements just to make more information out of the entire thing. In fact, it's very important that whenever there is any non-clarity, ask, stop and ask for it. And I promise you, every speaker always likes to be asked in case there is a lack of understanding, a lack of clarity. So inquire, don't hesitate, do not assume, because many times people assume in a communication and that's where the gap arises and the misunderstanding happens. As we can understand, assume, the word is making an ass of you and me. So assumption has to be totally avoided, and in order to avoid assumption, you need to ask for clarification, inquire whenever there is an element of doubt in your mind. So this is the second important step. The third one is summarizing. In between, when the communication is on, you have to summarize what the other person is saying, helps in gaining clarity. It also gives a picture to the other person that you are understood. So this you can do by either using the technique of backtracking or paraphrasing. What it means is, in the backtracking, you're just repeating in the same way what he has told you, so that the speaker understands that you have understood what he wants to convey. And paraphrasing also is the same way, just by but putting it in your own words as to what exactly he has communicated. This is what you meant, am I right? So, but in this you are using your own words so that your understanding is being verbalized by you by making your own statement. Friends, by doing the summarizing, what you are doing is you are conveying a message that you are keen about listening to what he is saying, and you are understanding the same perspective as what the communication is being done. So that is the third part called summarizing. In between, it is always better to summarize. And next one is takeaway. There is always a main takeaway in every conversation you have with people. And remember to mentally check if you have got the main takeaway correct. Friends, it many times happens that when you have a long presentation from the other person, you may miss out the main from the nitty-gritties. So in between, if you just ask them to stop and say, okay, this is the most important aspect. So the important aspect, when it is verbalized, the other person may be able to again clarify, because it may so happen that in the process of speaking, people may not be very competent or not be very well trained. So they may be beating around the bush, and in that beating around the bush by the speaker, the main crux may have been missed out. So in that case, you may say, okay, you are looking forward for this specification, this quality, or this type of a delivery timeline. So once if you are able to make that statement from your side to the speaker, he may be able to correct it, course correct it, or he may be able to rephrase it in his own way, so that we are back to the main message, which is very important. The next one is energize. Remember, the entire process of listening has to be kept high energy, where you have to use your body language, you have to use your facial expression, you have to use your eye contact to ensure that through your gestures, eye contacts and short statements, you encourage the speaker to speak more. Show interest, be enthusiastic, be happy that you are in his presence and you are there in the moment, in the present. That is very important, because remember friends, the mind tends to go back to the past or it goes back to the future. But the time when you are in the present is the time when you are truly alive, truly present. So energize yourself being in the present, and by using gestures, eye contacts and short statements, keep the conversation active and alive. The last one is never negate. Friends, during the entire conversation, during the entire listening process, never not interrupt or make negative comments or express disapproval straight away. Listen to the entire communication. Ask for queries, ask for clarification, summarize, give takeaways, and take his opinion. You need not always say yes to it, or you're not agreeing to it, but you're only listening to him. And afterwards, when his communication is over, when he has stopped speaking, you will have the opportunity to then give your opinion. Remember, the person's opinion and perception may differ one to another. So don't get into the habit of saying that you are wrong or I am right. Don't get into the righteousness mode. That has to be strongly avoided. At the most, you can say that let's agree to disagree and then move on to the other agreeable points. But never in a conversation try to criticize, condemn or complain. And keep the comments very neutral. And you don't have to accept every point that has been communicated, but what you can do is you can listen to him thoroughly with an empathy, and that itself will lead you to a better level of listening. Friends, again, now after understanding this L.I.S.T.E.N, which we all understood, look, inquire, summarize, take away, energize and never negate, the three listening level, which is at a little deeper level. Many times it so happens that people listen to only their words and get misunderstood or misinterpret. Some of the people who are a little bit better trained get to know the feelings. But the best listeners are those who are able to understand the intention of communication. Just to give an example, from sometimes you must have seen mothers, especially who are very anxious about the children's study. When a child doesn't study and his examination is there in a day or two, but he takes a permission from his mother and goes to play, and he promises to come back in half an hour, but he comes back after about 2 or 3 hours. The mother, in that anxiety, tension, stress, may use words like, you are going to be an absolute loser. In the future, you are going to become somebody like a sweeper. You will not get any other work. So, third party listener, when he listens to this communication by the mother to the child, saying that you are going to become this, a lowly graded person. Actually, she doesn't mean that she wants her son to become a sweeper or some lowly paid job. It's only the word. The feeling behind that is a feeling of concern, feeling of love. The feeling and the emotion behind that communication is a feeling of attachment, the feeling of love, the feeling of ownership. And the intention behind the communication of the mother towards us children when they do something wrong, their intention is they want the best for their children. They want that the children should succeed, prosper, enjoy all the comforts. So a person who only judges this communication on the point of words may misunderstand that how come this lady or a man is saying such horrible words. But the word does not mean the entire thing. The feeling behind that is one of concern, one of love. And the intention is to ensure that the children are able to study well and thereby achieve good prosperity, good progress, and thereby enjoy the best of things in life. So friends, as you can see from the example, don't go only by the words. Go into the feelings and emotions and try to get the intention. This requires a practice. The next important thing, my friends, is called active listening skill. As I said, listening is a skill which has to be learned, and any human being can learn it provided he understands all these nuances which we are just learning here. In active listening, you can use short statements and movement. Like when you are sitting in front of a person who is speaking to you, you can make your body move a little closer to him. Orient yourself closer to him. Use short statement like yes, oh, that's good, yes. So these words like yes, good, keep on. So these short statements may provide like a cue or a prompter for the other person to speak on. And you're doing that with a smile, with that enthusiasm. Paraphrasing is your verbatim, you're repeating what the other person has said to him in your own words. Active listening statement is you are conveying back to the person with a feeling word. For example, if a person is agitated about non-performance of the equipment sold to him, you can use a feeling word. I can see that you are aggrieved, you are upset with the performance of the product and services given to you. So this word upset or aggrieved or disappointed, the words can communicate to the other person that you are understanding their feeling. And once if a person feels that he is understood through his feeling and emotion, he gets close to you. And the moment you are able to match that feeling of the speaker automatically becomes much more calmer and he starts relating to you. And even his upset level comes down drastically. So that's the power of this active listening statement. Instead of just listening to them without speaking a word, just dumb, looking at him, or when you responded with the active listening statement or paraphrasing, that is much more powerful. So these all require a deeper level of understanding or empathy, and this can be practiced. So consciously practice active listening statement in all these three levels: short statements, paraphrasing where you are just repeating without any feeling word. Active listening statement is with a feeling word where you are trying to gauge, understand the exact feeling and use those feelings, word like upset, aggrieved, disappointed, or it can be elated, or you're overjoyed. So those feeling words, because remember, feelings are the language of the body. So if you are very closely observing the speaker's body, you'll be able to identify what feelings is the words being pronounced or spoken. So this is very, very important for us to understand. But as we have seen, those various sub-components of listening and these techniques of active listening, as well as the three levels of listening: listening for words, listening for emotions and feelings, and listening for intention. These are the various nuances of the listening skill which every sales commando, or for that matter every human being, should consciously try to learn, understand, practice and master. And thereby I promise you, you will not only succeed in your professional life, you will also become a winner in your personal life.